Hello everyone, this is Angela and welcome to my channel. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and click the notifications bell so you'll know whenever I upload any new videos. So let's get into it. I watched a couple of videos by Abba and Preach, and I felt the need to provide an alternative point of view. The links to the videos will be included in the description box. The first of these two videos is titled The Rise of the Lonely Man, which references the Psychology Today article by Dr. Greg Matos, which is also similarly titled as The Rise of the Lonely Single Man. And the second video by Abba and Preach, it appears to be a follow-up, and it's titled They Think That Dating Rich Men is Fun. Reality is very different. So, and I think they made this video because in the first one of the women interviewed said that she wanted a man that earned $400,000 per year in an income in order to feel comfortable in marriage. Just as a note, another woman also said she wanted a man that earned between $80,000 and $100,000 per year. Okay, bit of a disclaimer here. I am not creating this video to harass or smear Abba and Preach, their audience, or their brand. I'm just providing what I felt was missing. And what I felt was missing was a fair and balanced perspective of a self-sufficient woman. So let's take a look at the first part of their video and then I will comment.
Is there a number that stands out to you as like a decent salary? Like something that you would be like, okay, he needs to make this much money?
I don't think there's a number in mind, especially for right now, but I would say if he's not ever making more than, let's say, $100,000, then I would be a little bit worried about our future.
I'm good. But never mind. You saw how quick I shut the fuck up? I asked you, I got the answer. You said wait, I waited, I got the answer. I shut the fuck up now.
Let's keep listening.
Oh, wow.
Let's keep listening.
Would be a little bit worried.
I would say enough to live a life of leisure, in a sense. Like not have to worry about your rent, your utilities, stuff like that, but also
That's reasonable.
obviously a more desirable man would be able to take care of our kids, of myself, of our older parents. So I would say somewhere between $400K to wherever. Like there's no bar.
Yo! Oh my god, this shit's gonna red pill me so fucking hard.
Where do
bro.
you live?
Oh my days.
And just mind you, we're in 2022. Like, where do you live?
The bitch said 400 to the bar goes wherever. If you don't get the fuck up out of here with your average looking, oh my days, get her out of here, bro. And you saw how reasonable everybody sounded? Oh yeah, it doesn't really matter. Fantastic, Cindy. Yeah, I make 50K. Not a fucking chance, you loser. Wow! Y'all saw that? 100K? You guys understand how high that is? That's like less than 1% of...
At 23, if I were to be dating a man right now...
At 23? Did she say 23?
You don't know nothing.
This is gonna be bad. I'm not expecting something very brilliant out of this.
All
but
right, let's go.
But surprise me, I might be super wrong.
80K is pretty good. 80 to 100K.
At 23? Do you understand that you get to that level of money like around 40? And a lot of most motherfuckers out there at 40 are not gonna be at that level. You understand that? So
I know that sometimes when someone hears something that makes them uncomfortable, their first reaction is to deem the source of discomfort as an adversary. And the source of discomfort for Abba and Preach appears to be the women who are stating that the salary requirements for the men they would be willing to date are kind of high for Abba and Preach. So Abba and Preach, they have their swords and their shields ready to fight against a woman who they've deemed to be illusional and with impossibly high standards. So, it's like attack, right? Listen, it's as simple as this. And here's a perspective that I think is missing. women in the United States we've only had our full rights since approximately 1972. And we're currently in 2022, so that's only been about 50 years since women could have the ability to gain an education and apply for a job that she qualifies to work with without someone having the legal right to discriminate against us. So until this time, you only had what I'm going to call a manufactured version of womanhood. You had a version of womanhood that was sanitized and allowed to be seen in public. This manufactured and cookie cuttered version of womanhood limited our worthiness to how well we cooked dinner, how many children we gave birth to, and how quietly we endured infidelity and domestic violence. This cookie cutter version of womanhood was only allowed to work as teachers and nurses, and that was only before she got married and had to dedicate her life to uncompensated domestic duties. So to put it into perspective, the U.S. is approximately 246 years old. That's nearly 2.5 centuries officially that the U.S. has been a country. So, and think about it, women have only been totally and completely free from laws that oppress and discriminate us as a group for only a half of a century. So for more than 2 centuries, going back to the Mayflower, the only version of womanhood you were able to see as common was the one that was allowed to be seen. This is because there were laws, religions, customs, and cultures that would immediately bind the nature of a woman in the same way that corsets once bound a woman's waist. So over the past 50 years, women have been free to grow however they choose, however we choose, okay? And as a collective, we have chosen to become healthier, more knowledgeable, more financially secure than our grandmothers were allowed to. Our grandmothers, and in some cases our mothers, prior to 1972, could only be socially mobile if they were married. Otherwise, they were threatened with violence or marginalization if they dared to enjoy freedom on their own terms. So, if they were of a certain age and they were not married, they would be ostracized from their community. They will be made fun of. You're going to be an old maid, the old woman with the cats, all of that kind of stuff. If they were divorced, they were driven out of the community. They didn't want a divorced woman around because they had all of these myths about a divorced woman. You understand? And heaven forbid if she's a single mom. Oh my God, so all of this marginalization would occur, right? And during those times, women didn't have a way to remediate it except to marry somebody that would accept them as they were. And that often led to them being exploited, you understand? So, as I mentioned, 50 years ago, we are no longer oppressed. So one of the first things we did was become more knowledgeable, more financially secure, and as a result, more healthier. Okay. So additionally, with more knowledge comes more power. So of course, we women, we started traveling the world and having new experiences. And we also created opportunities that not only benefited us and our families, but everyone in our community for that matter. So what you are seeing, gentlemen, what you're seeing is how a pure and unadulterated woman appears. What you're seeing is what happens when a girl is able to grow and embrace womanhood on her own terms without restrictions. And that person is a normal woman. She is a natural woman, and this is an organic version of womanhood. And so this person is naturally going to be a visionary. She understands what opportunities are and how to use them to craft the life that she wishes to have. She's also a natural economist, so she's well aware of what's going on around her financially. There is not a thing wrong with these women who are saying that they want a man to have between $80,000 to $100,000, or even the one that said $400,000. You're talking about what she's saying is that she wants to marry a doctor or someone on that level. It doesn't take much for someone to go through the courses and become a doctor. And I'm not saying that to minimize the importance of a doctor. You know, a doctor is a noble profession, and it does take a long time to achieve that. But there are plenty of doctors in the US who have stories where they came from nothing and they took the courses, they went through school, they did the work, and now they're doctor, you know, fill in the blank on their last name. So it's possible to earn a $400,000 a year income. You just have to put in the work, you understand? So, as I mentioned before, you know, she's a natural economist. She's well aware of what's going on around her. There's nothing wrong with these women. Okay, there's nothing wrong with their expectations. And as a matter of fact, chances are very high that these very women are either earning that kind of an income themselves, or they're working towards earning a high level of income. They're either pursuing education or business opportunities. And so for this type of a woman, she's going to be thinking, well, I'm doing it, so if I can do it, then surely a man can do it too. See, what's actually wrong here is that many of you gentlemen are still brainwashed into believing in this pull string doll version of womanhood, along with the expectations that we women have to live by it. And all the while, you're not understanding that we women, including your moms, including your grandmas, we never wanted to exist that way. Okay? And case in point, look at what's going on in Iran right now.
Iran is no stranger to popular uprisings. The regime cracked down on protests in 2009 and again 10 years later. But the demonstrations sweeping the country today are different. They're being led by young people and are playing out both in the streets and online.
After 2 weeks of protests and brutal government backlash, Iranian activists, predominantly young women, remain defiant. The protests started earlier this year over high prices, but erupted in mid-September after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. She died in police custody after being arrested by Iran's morality police, who said she was wearing her hijab improperly.
Okay, the ongoing protest behind Mahsa Amini, who was deleted for being beaten in the head by the police for the way that she wore her hijab, the scarf that the Muslims wear. So if women wanted to live according to such ideas, then Mahsa Amini would have been in a burqa. Okay, but no, what I'm telling you is that a natural and organic woman will always want freedom. So Mahsa Amini, she wanted freedom. All women around the world are this way. And we've been this way throughout time. You were just brainwashed to believe us to be different than how we truly are. So let's get into some numbers here so you can understand I'm not just blowing smoke around your bottom. Let's see. Amazon is providing fully paid scholarships to their workers. So you only need to have worked with them according to their website for 90 days and you will have your college tuition completely paid for. So you can get a free college education just like that. So you can level up if you want to. You can find a career that earns 6 figures and take the college courses and learn it and start working in it. Google also has a program with Coursera called Work with Google. You can take the courses that can land you into a job that's paying $92,000. So as far as the woman who gave the range of $80,000 to $100,000, there you have it. Facebook, now known as Meta, has opportunities as well where you can get in on the ground floor and then soar. So you can make things happen if you want to. But here's the thing, you have to want to. You cannot ask a woman to put her life at risk, birthing and nurturing your children, to put her livelihood at risk, or even have to terminate her income so that she can properly mother your children and nurture your family and cultivate networks, nurture your community, if you are also not willing to risk it all to succeed at providing. That's not how it works. And let's think about it. Let's think about it. So you don't think that these women are crazy and pulling numbers out of thin air. Let's look at the average cost of a house in the US. If you want to buy a house in the US on average, that's going to be a $400,000 purchase. Most people are going to get a loan. That's going to amount to roughly $2,000 per month on average. Then the monthly cost of a new car on a 6-year loan, 5 or 6-year loan, is about $700 a month. So already you're up to $2,700 per month just to have a roof over your head and something to drive. Not to pay the utilities in it. Not to put the gas in the car. Just to possess the items. Okay. Now add to it that the cost of raising a child from birth to the age of 18 in the U.S., it's over $275,000 that you will have to pay from the time that child is born until that child turns 18 years old. That's nearly $1,300 a month for 18 years. So you have a house at $2,000, a car at $700 plus 13. That's about $4,000 a month before you start having to feed the child, clothe the child, turn on utilities and put gas in the car. Okay. And this cost to raise the child does not even include college tuition or the amount of money that it costs to give birth to the child, which can be well over $25,000. So, and bear in mind, these costs are going to be paid as far as raising the child and giving birth to the child, whether we women are poor and destitute single moms living in slums. Okay. Shout out to the single moms. I'm not saying all single moms are poor and destitute, but I'm just giving an extreme end of the spectrum. So whether, you take the poorest, most destitute, impoverished single mom living in a slum with her baby, okay, that child is going to cost $275,000 on average. It has to be paid. Okay, whether she's living like that or whether she's a housewife living in a mansion, that cost is going to get paid. So we do not want to trade places with the oppression and desperation that our grandmothers experienced. We see how hard it is for the single mom. Okay, and we don't want to trade places with her either. Shout out to the single moms again. I'm not looking down on you. I'm just keeping it real because I don't think these people understand what you're going through. So, gentlemen, you need to be pulling in 6 figures if you want to give your family a decent life. Otherwise, maybe it's best for you to just stay alone. No one wants to suffer. The suffering that your mother and grandmother did, it was because they were oppressed. They were oppressed as women. They didn't do all that suffering just because that's what women are supposed to do. That's the brainwashing. Okay. Not only that, many of us women are succeeding at these very opportunities that you too can also embrace. You as a man do not have our biological realities. You do not get pregnant. You do not get a menstrual cycle and the cramps and the migraines and the nausea and the other complications that come with it. You don't gain 5 pounds or more of water weight within a week of your cycle starting. You don't have to deal with that. You don't have to recover or cope with lifelong complications as a result of pregnancy and childbirth. However, these are the kind of challenges that women are facing on a regular basis, and yet, despite it all, we're still able to succeed. So, we're not going to entertain someone frowning up their faces and complaining that our standards are too high, when in fact, you naturally possess the strength and the stamina to do as well as us. And you even have more opportunities. There would never be a large amount of women pouring concrete or hanging off a scaffolding 50 feet in the air, nailing shingles on a roof, or running into a blazing building with a fire hose. There would never be a large amount of women hovering helicopters over disaster zones to rescue people. So this idea that women have, quote unquote, taken the place of men is absurd. Back to what I was saying. If you are not willing to do whatever it takes to succeed and to provide, then just accept who you are. Look in the mirror and understand that having a wife and a family is simply not for you. Being a permanent bachelor is all right. You only have yourself to care for. Nonetheless, don't use our dresses and our skirts to hide from the truth of who you really are. Okay? If making $40,000 a year is all you want to do, when that wouldn't even be enough if you had one child, one house, and one car, okay, on average, that your salary would not be enough to pay for that, then by all means, get yourself a studio apartment or a one-bedroom house, rent a room, and live to your heart's content. Or here's an alternative. Maybe three of you who are making your $40,000 per year can agree to polyandry or polyamory and find a woman or a group of women who is open to being with multiple partners, multiple husbands, and live happily ever after. There's no judgment here. You can live like that too. Either way, the majority of women want to be wives and mothers, but not to grouchy men who are always complaining about how much money they are lacking. Grouchy and stingy men tend to abandon their families, cause psychological damage, or worse. So no, there is not anything wrong with these women or their expectations. They are organically women, and they are being reasonable given the times that we're living in. Additionally, there are opportunities for those of you who are willing to do what it takes to succeed. I agree with Abba and Preach that the economy is shabby on a global scale. However, I do not think that it is as a result of female vloggers minimizing men's issue. Again, we've only had our freedom for 50 years, and part of that has been rolled back with the reversal of Roe versus Wade, okay? You know, the economy is shabby as a result of your role models, older men, and their pull-string doll accomplices. They're the ones that are minimizing young men's issues. Again, like I said, you know, we women collectively have only been free in the U.S. for 50 years. In Iran, they're fighting for their freedom as we speak in 2022. We are not the architects of this disaster that has, by the way, resulted in there being more of you than there are of us. That's right. The global human population is more male than it is female. The surplus of men on the planet exceeds more than 65 million men. This means that if every woman on Earth right now was paired up with a man, there will be over 65 million men left over. There are potentially more than 65 million men who, unless they adopt polyamory or get involved in polyandrous marriages, will have permanently dry wood. So it is easy to look at women as the adversary, but we didn't cause this. In fact, I would argue that we did all that we could to prevent this planetary disaster that we all are coping with. So here are some solutions. Listen, take advantage of Grow with Google, Meta, and Amazon and other opportunities. Go into the military. We are in peaceful times, so you can go in and get lifelong benefits. Leveling up is not as complicated as you are making it out to be. However, if your approach to this issue of needing to earn enough money and to level up is going to be one of complaint and aggression, then you are going to be left on the sidelines, because as far as we women are concerned, it's that very behavior, primarily on the part of men and throughout the ages, that has landed us all here in the first place. So that's all I have. You know, you can level up. There are opportunities here, especially if you're in the US. There are plenty of opportunities here for you to level up. It's up to you to do it, you know? So that's all I have for now. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, click the notification bell, and share the video. And take care until next time.